Good morning and welcome back to Faith Family United Church of Christ Bible Study or Sunday School. We are in studies in Luke. We are in chapter 12, starting at verse 22. And let us just go start there and go through and see what we discover and how we can change our lives to make us the best people we can be. So in starting at verse 22, it says, he said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouses nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Or of how much more value are you than the birds? And can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your lifespan? If you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? Do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink, and do not worry. For it is the nations of the world that strive after all these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourself that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes and no moth destroys. For there where your treasure is, there your heart will be." Interesting. Did Jesus just tell us to give away all our money? Sell your possessions. Well, you're not giving away your possessions, you're selling it. But then he says, give alms. Interesting. Is Jesus telling us not to work?
No.
What's he saying here? What's the lesson he's trying to convey?
Be awake, be ready, keep doing the things you need to do, but also remember that that's not the end game. Okay. The end game is kingdom.
The kingdom, yeah.
What's the expression? I'm not going to take it with me.
Exactly. Some people try. I seen a show not too long ago. It was one of those crime story things. A guy was digging in his front yard and he hit something. Starts digging around it, and come to find out it was a vintage car that the owner of the house had buried, and he wanted to take it with him, so to speak.
Something to drive in heaven.
Yeah, so craziness. But no, I think you're right, Cindy. He's not saying, don't work. He's saying work for a different purpose, not just to have clothes or the food that we eat. And you think about that. Look at the world today. You have people that think going to fancy restaurants, that's the upper class. They do that stuff. People with money, and the clothes you wear. The clothes you wear and the car you drive. That was the two biggest things in the military. Am I right, Zen? Mm-hmm. People had their status was, oh, did you see my car? It's a nice car. They'll buy a Lexus, or they'll buy when we were overseas, of course, they bought the Mercedes and the BMWs, and but then they would deck them out, make them all flashy and everything. And it's like, it's a car to get you from here to there. Why do you need all this fancy stuff? But they saw it as a sound, and the clothes they wear, they see it as a status.
The gold chains.
Yeah, and the jewelry, but and Jesus says, don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about the individual, the me, but society as a whole. That's the kingdom. That's what he's talking about. He says, the nations of the world strive for these things. The nation, oops, I'm sorry. My bad. Let me get you.
Seek these things.
Yeah, it says the nations of the world seek after these things. But we are to seek after the kingdom, right? What's the difference? What does it mean when he says the nations of the world?
It's human beings in common. Everybody.
Uh-huh.
It isn't just one China versus Russia versus US of A. Everybody. The Chinese are just as greedy as we are.
Okay.
No matter what, even if you're on a tribe, if you're in the middle of Africa, you still want to have a better looking spear. You want to have what is the horns that you want to have more? Their herds got to be bigger horns.
Oh yeah, the longhorns.
Yes.
Yeah.
The more they got, the wealthier you are.
Well, here's something. Yeah. Now we're pointing at the nations of the world, but sometimes the church gets tied up in this too, right? When I first became a Christian, going to church, and I was looked down upon because I come to church in jeans and a t-shirt. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Inappropriate.
Very inappropriate. And I said, well, I thought you were supposed to give, come and worship God in the best that you had.
As you are.
Well, as you are. But well, you're supposed to, you're showing reverence to God. And I said, okay, by showing reverence to God, am I wearing a $15 button-down shirt, or am I wearing a $25 t-shirt? Am I wearing a $10 pair of slacks, or am I wearing a $20 pair of jeans?
Who cares?
That's it. Who cares? And that's the message here. But yet we point the finger at the world, but us in the church do the same thing. We worry about what we wear.
Do you hear pastors in these big mega churches preach that way?
Yes.
I mean, they just
and
especially when it comes to women.
yes, yeah.
Not so much men.
Little story from when I was in the seminary up in Tennessee. One of my buddies that was going to seminary with me, him and his wife were looking for a new church, and they went to this more Pentecostal church. I don't say it was Pentecostal; it was leaning that way. And she was a Mary Kay consultant. Made lots of money selling Mary Kay, and so of course she has makeup and everything. And they go to this church, and oh my gosh, they about excommunicated them right there. They said that we don't appreciate you coming to church with makeup on, and your skirt does not go all the way to the ground.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah. And that was the way, like Cindy was saying, that's the way they treated the women. You were supposed to, not have anything that was going to draw attention to you, because you were not to be seen or heard. You were just supposed to be in the background.
Did you know how you could differentiate Christmas and Easter churches, members of the church at the Presbyterian Church? We saw women dressed nicely. Their hair combed nicely. Christmas and Easter, the filthy rich. I've never seen such magnificent hats.
Uh-huh. And that's what I'm saying.
But only Christmas and Easter do they show up. That's the only, and they literally, it's a strut. It's not a walk. It's a strut.
Exactly. And that's what this is saying. Jesus, don't worry about that stuff. That stuff isn't important. What is important is this the kingdom, and that's caring for each other, and that's why it says, sell your possessions and give alms. In other words, all that you have is nothing if you're not taking care of those around you. That's big words. And that's what the kingdom living is supposed to be about. The word strive in Greek is zeteo, to try to obtain something. In other words, you're trying to obtain these possessions of the world and make yourself look better, or look at me, because I've got this and I've got that. And he said that Jesus says, instead strive for or try to obtain the kingdom. Think about that. If we were all trying to obtain the kingdom, what does kingdom living look like?
Most humble.
Everyone's taken
Most
care
sharing.
of.
Everyone's taken care of. I think it's interesting that Jesus points out that the birds of the field don't go hungry, right? Because God always provides for them. And if we look at the world today and we look at how much food is thrown away,
oh Lord,
and how many people are starving, and we go, oh, they're starving. They're starving because of people aren't living like the kingdom. In other words, we try to hoard this stuff for ourselves, because we don't want to be caught with a rainy day. Well, if everybody shared everything, there would never be a rainy day. There would never be. I mean, if you had a famine isn't worldwide, right? If it is, then we're really hurting, and probably Jesus is coming back, right? Yeah. So the people that have are supposed to share with the people that don't. Isn't that the story of Joseph in the Book of Many Colors?
Isn't that the story of the Amish?
Well, the book of Joseph and the coat of many colors. His brothers sold him into slavery. He goes down to Egypt and he becomes, part of the ruling class down there. So much so that he's taking care of all of Egypt with his gathering. But he had this dream that there was going to be a famine. So they stored up. And then what happened? His brothers come because of the famine, and he gives to them. That's kingdom living. When you have and somebody doesn't, you give to them. Yes. So that's what Jesus is saying, is if, at least that's what I think Jesus is saying, is that if we live life that way, we wouldn't have to worry. Strive for the kingdom. Okay. So this last part right here, sell your possessions to give to the alms. This is what kingdom living is all about. Don't worry about gathering up for yourself what what you have, but rather by building up relationships with people. That will keep you more than taking care of yourself, right? If you've seen some of these apocalyptic or these what they call dystopia futures, where people are storing up stuff, and one of the things that they do is these people are hoarding gold, and it's like, you can't eat gold. You can't eat money. So what do they have all this stuff that's worthless, because what's important? Food, shelter, clothing. These things are important, and if you have these things and you're taking care of each other with these things, those people that were rich and powerful, and had all this money. Now they have nothing because that paper money means nothing. Your bank account is on a computer. It's not helping us eat. It's not helping us. So the idea of kingdom living is really impressed on people from Jesus's point of view. Okay, the next part, watchful slaves. I didn't like that. What did I call it?
Mine says
I called watchfulness of the slave.
when the master shows up.
When the master shows up. Okay. Can you read that up there? Okay. Be dressed for action. In other words, be ready. And have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that they may open the door for him as soon as he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves who the master finds alert when he comes. Truly, I tell you, he will fasten his belt and have them sit down and eat, and he will come and serve them. If he comes during the middle of the night or near dawn and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But know this, if the owner of the house had known that what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. Okay. An unexpected hour. Here's the interesting thing. If you read this and you see it talks about the wedding banquet, and it talks about being faithful, the faithful slave, and it talks about lighting your lamp and being watchful and being ready. This is the same. This is like Luke's version of the story of the virgins in Matthew chapter 20.
With the lamps.
24, yeah, with
Did
the
they keep
lamps.
the wicks?
Exactly. They had extra oil with them, so they were ready at all times. But he tried to, maybe it's kind of the grapevine kind of thing. I heard it from a person who heard it from a person who heard it from a person. And so the story got changed during that. And so it's like the story got changed a little bit here with Luke. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. But what's the important place is to be faithful and to be ready. To be ready. Verse 37, he will fasten his belt. What's that mean? Why did you fasten your belt?
So he doesn't eat as much. He has stuff to share with others.
To be ready for whatever comes.
Today we might say what? Because this is the master. The master's come home. What's that?
Keep your clothes on.
we would have said rolled up his sleeves.
Oh.
So he rolled up his sleeves and he's going to go work for those faithful people. So you see that?
How did he miss that one?
So he fastened his belt. He will get ready to work. He will come to serve. Isn't that interesting? It says the master, and yet the slave, the master and the slave. And if he comes home and he finds the servant, the slave, faithful and doing their job, he will roll up his sleeves and serve them. Could you imagine that happening in 1800s, early 1800s America?
Do you know, if you look at a lot of these wealthy people, they have beautiful homes, they have servants, but they're not happy. Because when they started 40 years ago, they ran the mom and pop shops. They did everything by hand, and they miss it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't don't want to sit there and have servants do the. They want to get their hands wet. They want to get. Sometimes they tell the grandchildren, "Get out of the way. Let's get back to where we serve the customer.
Yeah.
One dip of ice cream at a time. One slice of roast beef at a time." You know, that's where they are happy.
And that's because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be working for each other. You look at the CEOs today; they have no clue about what the worker does. All he knows is, I do my job and I get paid a lot more than they do, and he doesn't care. Yeah. But if he had to go, or she had to go down there and do those jobs and see, maybe they would give them more pay. Maybe they would share instead of having these billion-dollar profits. Anyway.
And salary and commission.
Yeah.
I think what you might be missing here is that so many people, when they're waiting for something, get lazy and they don't keep up their guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people go to church nowadays and want to be served. They go in, they have a Starbucks there, they entertain them with music and pageantry, and it's like watching television, or it's a formative thing. People are not wanting to serve. If they've got to get their hands dirty, if they have to actually do something, if they've got to come out on a day that's not a Sunday, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do Wednesday night, Sunday service anymore. They've got too many responsibilities with their kids. They don't want to go back on Sunday night because they've got to get ready for the week. That's what he's really saying here as well, is don't get lazy waiting.
Yes. Yeah, and we tended to go right to the evil master, that doesn't take care. But yet that's the crux of what he's saying here, is that be ready, and what's the old adage? When the cat's away, the mice will play. The mice will play, and that's kind of what he's saying here. Don't get complacent. Don't play because the master isn't there, but be faithful. Do your job. Do what you're supposed to be doing. And when it comes to the church, are we doing that? Jesus isn't here, and he's taught us what to do. He taught us what the kingdom was supposed to be like, and yet so many of us are the cat's away, so we're just playing, or we're elevating ourselves that like we're supposed to be the ones serving or getting served. So like Cindy said, I come here to the service, show me a show, and give me some good music, and oh yeah,
And put $1 in.
and I got $1. This is the best show I got for $1. That heard somebody's once. So here it is that be alert, be ready. Where is it? The very last part there, he says, he talks about a thief, the owner of the house. Who is the owner of the house?
Us. Followers.
It says, but know this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming.
The church.
I don't think so. Who do you think the owner of the house is? She said the church. Because the Son of Man is coming, and the story that he just said was the master's coming back, right? So the owner of the house would
be Jesus Christ.
Yeah, would be Jesus. But then if he had known what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. So who is the thief?
Is it a rhetorical question? That the thief is the laziness, doing nothing while the boss is away? Could that be what he was trying to imply?
Well, here's something. I think that we're going to go a little bit deeper here, and I'm going to say that the house is God's house, and the house is the people of Israel. And then when Jesus comes, he is like a thief because they don't know who the Son of Man is. They were oblivious to it. And he comes at an unexpected hour. So here's the thing that I want to point out. When Jesus is talking about the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour, what is your first thought? What is he talking about?
Your first thought is his second coming.
The second coming. Yes. It's talking about the second coming. I don't think Jesus is talking about the second coming. I think he's talking about his coming right now. He is like a thief because nobody expects him. And all this stuff that they've built up, think they're proud because what they have, God has gone away, and yet they are playing, and they act like it's their house to play with. And when Jesus comes, it's like he's coming as a thief because they're not ready for him. And he is going to take what was inherently theirs away. Now, I read that a little bit different than a lot of people, but how do you feel?
You're probably right.
Interesting.
Given the fact that he's still here with them.
Yeah, he's still with them. He's not going to be talking about his second coming because
He's not leaving.
yeah, he hasn't got to that part yet. The Son of Man. Who's the Son of Man? We went over this before. This is Jesus' way of talking about himself, and it comes from the book of Daniel when it talks about the Son of Man, or one that looked like the Son of Man. And it's a prophecy about the Messiah, who Jesus is saying, I am the Son of Man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying basically that the people are not ready for the Messiah, the Christ, his first coming. Now, I'm talking about his second coming. They're not ready for his first coming. And I think that's what this whole section here is about. Is people are worrying about the wrong things, and they're not looking for the kingdom. And when the Christ comes, they're not prepared. But you need to be prepared. Any questions? All right, well, that's all we have for today. So thank you all for coming. Oh, for the next 2 weeks, we will not be holding Sunday school because I will be out of town on the last Sunday, and next Sunday we're going to do a joint service at Brandon Christian.
Next Sunday and the following Sunday?
I will be gone, yes.
Okay. So for 2 Sundays,
2 Sundays.
we will be there?
We will,
No.
we'll talk a second. Anyway, we will start again on